I want to give a bit of brief on Kai Finance and the reason why we started to do these monthly sessions and how we feel that they can plug into any African founder who is looking to scale business right. So I'm gonna, as I'm seeing a lot of faces in the room, I do appreciate the consistency for those who are here for the second and third time. For those who are here for the first time, just to give a bit of clarity into what we are trying to do here. We do host these monthly sessions to sort of help founders along the journey, and the aim to give them the sort of education it would take. And this sort of comes from experienced people who in the game for a while, people who had their skin in the game for a minute. We bring in experts in various fields, and we try to help you scale your businesses. So without further ado, today's session is going to be focusing on business model engineering. This session was supposed to be chaired by Mr. It, our CEO. You can see he's among the audience. Shout out to but he couldn't take it, so I had to step in. I'll be joined today by Mr. Restream. He's a noble individual. I'll be introducing him later on. So I'm really excited to take on this. Really excited to take on this session, and I do hope that it's going to be a value added any founder who's in the room at this moment. So today's conversation is going to be about what determines whether a business will survive, whether it will scale, whether it will slowly collapse under its own weight. That's what we call business model engineering. So that phrase can sound a bit technical or a bit overly corporate, but I'm going to simplify it very quickly. So in layman's terms, a business model is simply how a business makes money sustainably. Walter is the expert here in business modeling, so he'll tell me whether I hit the nail on the head there, but that's just it. Business model is how you structure your business to make money sustainably. It's not just what you sell. It includes who you sell it to, why they buy, how you deliver that value, what it costs you to deliver this value, and what keeps customers returning to your door. So whether that structure that is underneath the business works over time is what is considered a good business model. Ita made a very good quote today. He said that, in his opinion, a good business model is one that keeps people wondering how you make your money. They look at you, they're seeing you making all the profits, and they're like, how does this guy really make his money? And that's when you know you've nailed a good business model. So business model engineering then is the intentional design of this entire system. Because most SMEs don't fail because their product is bad. It's obviously something in the back end. Operations could be inefficient, your margins could be weak, customer acquisition being expensive, cash flow being unstable. Is a lot of factors that play into how you model your businesses. So growth would be perceived as creating a pressure point instead of leverage. So this leads to a business that is completely active, 100% active. It's operational sound, but underneath there's a lot of fragility that affects the overall scaling of the business in the long term. And that's what you're looking to unpack this afternoon. Hopefully, at the end of this session, you'll have a clear understanding into how to approach your business from a business model perspective. So to ground this conversation practically, I want us to look at two companies who have already done this. These are household names for most people. The first one is Starbucks. So most people think that Starbucks sells coffee, but in reality, they've engineered a business model around subscriptions, customer experience, and convenience. There's this sort of routine behavior that makes every purchase almost tend to be a repeat purchase. It's just one single layer of the business, but the real model is habit plus environment plus the operational consistency, and they've done that very well. Costco is another very interesting example. They make surprisingly thin margins on the products, but the real engine of the business is membership subscriptions. So while customers think they're shopping cheaply, Costco has already engineered something, a predictable recurring revenue model. Before they sell their first product. That, in a nutshell, is how business model engineering works. It's not about working harder, it's about designing systems for your business. So the question then for SMEs becomes, is a business design functionally? Are you simply reacting as you grow? You have the structure to run the business to make sure it is not as fragile behind the scenes, but operationally in the front, it's working seamlessly. So that brings me to our guest for today. I'll be inviting Mr. Walter Brassen. Walter is a notable. Let me share my screen so that those who are not familiar can have an understanding of what I'm saying. So Walter is a household name in Kai Finance. We've had him here before, and we are excited to have him. Walter is the CEO of Trend Circular. He's an entrepreneurial leader with 10 plus years consultancies, digital media, recruitment, and retail in Kenya, Australia, and the Netherlands. So his spans strategy, innovation, business development, and HR. A notable thing about Walter is that he has a decade of experience spanning business models itself. He used to work for a company that will design, publish books about how to do business models the right way. So he's the right to come in here to talk to us about what business models are about and what they entail. So experience working around circular economy systems, have experience in sustainable enterprises, excel operations, and practical business designs with emerging markets. I'd like to invite Walter just to introduce yourself from your own perspective, and then we can take it from there. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, David, and happy to be here again today. Thanks for the invite to the Total Kai finance team, of course. Well, yeah, guys. So today is about business model structuring, engineering, innovation. Give the name. But we're looking at business models. Business models are here to shape your vision and how you're going to create for your current customers, but also looking at customers you want to serve in the future. So I think a very important thing is that we don't look at a business model as a static model, but it's always fluid. Why? Because the context around your model and your company is constantly in flow. So looking at new technologies, looking at new rules and regulations, looking at competitors, etc., etc. So having a fixed model is interesting and one that creates a lot of revenue, but you need to think about vision and business model innovation to strengthen your position, to still be interesting for your customers in the future, because otherwise they will leave you and competitors in the future as well. So I've been working on that side for 4 or 5 years, working with Business Models Inc. Well, the name says it. The company was a global consultancy firm on business model innovation and strategy work. Yeah, what we did is we helped startups, big organizations with business model innovation and strategy work. And then you can imagine, and we published a few books around business model innovation and also how to implement business model innovation within your company. So that was a very successful book as well. But that was a sort of guidance on how you could implement our train of thought and our processes within your company. That said, I made the move 2 years ago to Kenya. So I'm in Nairobi at the moment, working on these topics as well with small medium enterprises here in sub-Saharan Africa. But next to that, I've started 20 Circular, which is a company focused on driving the circular economy. So reducing waste, optimizing materials that we have, create sustainable value chains. So we don't have to materials, for instance, in China or Europe, but we can have the materials here in a closed loop and a closed value chain. That is what I'm working besides the consultancy work that I do on business model innovation. I'm actively building that company together with my business partner Eric Ochieno here in Kenya. So that's a short introduction. Well, wasn't that short? It wasn't that short. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Wouter, for that
Introduction.
That medium-sized introduction. So I'll dive into it. But before I do, I wanna maybe highlight something to our audience. He's shy about it. Wouter is so busy to get actually is an impossible task. So I would advise that while we have this discussion today on business modeling engineering, just compile maybe a list of questions, maybe something resonates as we speak. Engage with Wouter, because I can assure you, being in this room is we do not take that lightly, that he took the time off to be here. So I hope that you take full advantage of the fact that you are in the room with him together, and maybe make this session as worthwhile in terms of value to you, to yourself and your business as possible. So I'm hoping that we are going to distill this, Wouter, for every SME owner, business owner, and founder in this room. So we are going to distill it into layman's terms, not too technical, not too corporate. So when you hear the phrase business model engineering, what does it actually mean to you in practical terms, especially for SMEs?
Yeah, in my mind, it's deliberately designing and redesigning how a business is value, how it delivers value, and also captures value. So about what customers you serve, what offer, also we call that value proposition, and how you deliver it to your customers. And then we call that the golden triangle, is in what kind of way are you also getting paid, because that is quite essential in any healthy and sustainable business model. So we look at that on the right hand side of the model, as we often talk about. It's how you create value for whom, and in what kind of way you get money for that. What channels do you deliver that proposition, and what kind of relationship do you have with your customers? So that's on the right side of the model, and it's about getting money in and delivering the value. And on the left side of the model, then we often talk about, hey, how are we going to deliver this value? What kind of key partners do I need? What kind of key activities do I need to create this value for my customers? And in the end, of course, very important, what are all the costs that go with getting this offer to my clients? So I think that's how we look at a business model. And if you talk about business model engineering, you want to look into all these different themes around your business model, because it is one big picture. Often it is quite fuzzy, but we also have tooling, as I showed you, that can make it quite practical, and you can have discussions with your team looking at this same business model, and if you understand the current model, then you also know how you create value for your customers at the moment. And then you can also see, hey, where do we want to go in the future? And what do we need to change within our current model to get towards that dot on the horizon? And then it becomes very practical, and you can talk around the same thing with your team. So that's how I look at the business model engineering.
Okay. Thanks for that. So a lot of SMEs confuse being busy with sustainability. So from where you're seated, you sit at the nexus of circular economy. So from your experience, what are some early signs that maybe a business model is fundamentally flawed, even when revenue is appearing coming?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, first and foremost, let's say if cash is always tight, despite having a good sales department, then well, there's something wrong there. Then you're constantly under pressure. So not enough cash is one thing. Another is margins. When margins shrink as you grow as well, or you only make money when the founder is overworking and underpaying themselves, then it's also not a sustainable model, right? And maybe one of the most important thing is if you don't have a clear differentiation. So what is your unique selling point? So if customers buy from you because of your price, then they also easily switch between different competitors, right? So you don't have a steady customer base, no steady revenue coming in. It's very hectic as well. So I would say these three would be very, very important and will be signs of a weak model.
Okay. So another major issue for maybe African SMEs is that once they scale, when they're growing, it seems as though that growth is increasing the pressure on operations, or rather operational pressure, instead of increasing profitability. So what do you think for most African SMEs this happens often? And do you think that maybe founders engineering models that scale more intelligently will be a solution?
Yeah, okay. I think this happens when you have variable costs, a complex market where you are in, or a lot of manual work. And because when you grow fast, then the processes don't scale as fast as your growth. So then you don't have scalable processes, you don't have automation, and I also think that you'll have weak unit economics. And I think design models where extra sales improves, then you need to think about standardized offerings, clear unit economics, also a clear customer segment. Not, hey, everybody who's wanting to buy my product is my customer. No, you want to target a customer. You want to have that clear understanding of your model, and that then you can also scale your processes and backend of your operations.
Awesome. So we've talked about maybe the founder side of business. Do you think there's a role that customers do play, or rather customer behavior plays in business model design?
Yeah, a lot. Customers are often overlooked, I think, but no, customer behavior is one of the most important things, because it's the truth of your value proposition, right? So
yeah.
Pricing, channels, attention levers. So for small medium enterprises, I would say avoid assumption-based models. So really try to validate with your customer, observing their behavior, so you can tweak your model. Yeah, I always wanted to run small experiments with different customers to understand their needs, their behavior, in order to then in the end can change my model. Because in the end, the customer is way yes or no, and it depends on the value you bring to that customer. And if he does not sell, you're far off, and your model is not sustainable at all.
Another major challenge, I think, for the founders in the room we've interacted with previously, one major challenge is capital. Raising capital is a challenge for most African SMEs. So from your perspective, how does the quality of maybe a good business model affect the company's ability to attract investment or funding? And maybe also while you're touching on that, you'll say, what do investors usually notice immediately when maybe they are dealing with a weak business model?
Yeah, good question. Again, I think investors look for models that clearly explain who their customer is. You can have multiple customer segments, but you need to really know what they are. So in essence, it's your customer and why do they buy from you? And then underneath is how your profit scales as the business grows. Because investors, they always want to see scale. So, okay, how does your profit scales when you grow as a company as well? So that is the sort of golden triangle we often look at, and also from an investor's point of view. Then some red flags, I would say, would be, yeah, maybe logical, but an unclear value proposition. So, hey, what is the value that I bring to my customers? I have different value that I bring, and different segments that I deliver to, but it's not very clear. Well, poor margins, we already spoke about that. And again, it's not having that repeat business, so not a steady customer base with steady recurring revenue coming in. I think that is a big red flag. And yeah, sometimes founders would also say, hey, I think I can grow my business 10 times in the coming 3 to 5 years, but being unrealistic and based on figures that are not hard, then often investors would also say, hey, these guys really know what they're talking about, so I'm out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So for the next part, I want to look at this. I want us to look at this and maybe so that founders can understand that when we talk about engineering a business model, what does it look like? Maybe you can highlight a few things about this business model canvas.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the business model canvas was designed by Ander Osterwalder from Strategizer, and my former CEO, he saw this model and he thought, hey, wow, this is a clear model that we can use to have strategic conversations around our business model. And this was quite new. So he reached out to Alexander Osterwalder and said, hey man, do you want to publish this together in a book? And that was the first book called Business Model Generation. I think I had it in 2010, but now it's one of the top 10 management books sold worldwide. And it explains the way a business creates and delivers you. So if we look at you always start with your value proposition, right? So what value do I deliver to my customers? And then next, so you go through the value proposition to your customer segments. Okay, for whom is this proposition that I have interest? And in the end, okay, what kind of revenue is coming in and in what kind of way. So you have a lot of different ways you can earn money. Of course, maybe we'll dive into that later. But this is what we call the golden triangle. If you don't have this structure and this clarity on your value proposition, customer segment, and revenue streams, then your model will not work out. And so this was also the part that I was talking, the right side of your business model. And if you have a look at the left side, it's more about the costs of your model. So what key activities and resources do I need to deliver this value? And what kind of key partners are, well, needed to deliver this value as well? And then on the left side, it's the cost structure to get that financed. So if you have this overview, then you'll have your business model in one take. And then, as I said before, now you know how you currently are creating value. And if you know where you want to go in the future, then you can also see, okay, I want to extend my positions. I want to maybe extend customer segments. What am I going to do? And then you can drive innovation based on, well, having that clear understanding of your current business model. So that's the way we look at that.
Awesome. Before I move on to the next diagram, maybe if an SME owner is listening today and they wanted to redesign their model intentionally, where do you think they would start?
I would say validate whether your model is still interesting for your customers, right? So having a value proposition that does not serve your customers, that is a big red flag. So you need to constantly be in contact with your customers and clients to see if the current value that you are bringing to your clients is still what they are looking for, or are they looking at different competitors, for instance, and why do they have a seamlessly customer experience tool, or do they have a relationship-based channel that you can in the end get a lot of discounts. It depends on what kind of model you're in and what kind of sector you're in as well. But I would say always start with your customer, because that is your validation point. And from there on, you can tweak your value proposition.
Okay. So can you highlight a bit about model portfolio map and how it can be used to maybe redesign a business model?
Yeah. So when we look at business model innovation, you see that you always start by questions. Hey, who is my customer? So we see that on the right side here, the small red dotted block is the customer segment, and do they have a certain that I can solve, right? And then you go to the right side, then you see, okay, if we know the customer problem, then we can also shape our value. So you have a solution for them, right? And if you move towards more tonight, then you're going to validate the solution even better and see how you can scale and penetrate different markets with your solution. And in the end, every business model follows the same maturity. So it starts with the customer problem, then you're going to ideate solutions. You're going to see via what channels and via what relationships you're serving that solution. And then it's also very important to have a look at your left side, of course, of the operation. So then it's about margins, it's about our way of working, and it's about a healthy revenue and profits. And when you have that sustained business model, then you really want to amplify and make it sustainable as long as possible. But we also know that every business model is definite. If you have a look at, for instance, the former CDs, and now you have Spotify. If you have a look at video tapes, now you have Netflix. If you have the old telephone, now you have mobile phones. You know, so there will always be innovation within sectors and industries. So key is that you also look into the future and see what is happening. You have to look outside of your company, not just focusing on your own business model, but look at competitors, look at technologies that are happening around your context, business context, law and regulations, all these kind of things, they push innovation. Sometimes it's because of a government push. Sometimes it's because you want to be a front runner and thought leader within an industry, right? But then again, we look at innovation from a business model perspective in this way. You start with the customer segments, their problems. Okay, how do I deliver this solution and via what revenue streams? Test, iterate, test, iterate, and you understand the model that you want to follow. And you look at every business.
Interesting. So I think if I got you right, just to reiterate, for a founder to maybe scale successfully, they have to keep looking at their business model repeatedly to see if whatever they had modeled is actually what is on ground, and whether they need to maybe change some bits or they need to double down and iterate on whatever is working, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
All right. So based on your experiences so far with business modeling and business model engineering, would you say there's a particular business model structure that consistently outperforms the others? Maybe subscription models, platform models, service-led models, asset-light models, community-driven models. Is there one that maybe outperforms the others?
Short answer, no. Longer answer is, well, you see a few interesting models, right? So subscription models, they are interesting because we know that the environment is under pressure. A subscription model really does a good job in terms of saving materials, sharing, get the lifetime of your product longer, etc. If you have platforms that's due to the technology push that we saw over the years, so not an interesting business model. But over time, performance usually depends more on the fit with the market and the execution. And to be honest, also just the founders